if you think that you are surrounded by idiots, if you think that your way is the only way and everybody else is wrong constantly, then you are the problem. I am Thomas. I am from Sweden. I am an author, a behaviorist, not a psychologist. Big difference there. She asked 3,000 people, how self-aware are you on a scale? Could you rate yourself? Turns out 95% are above average. That's interesting, because when I do a 360 analysis, turns out maybe 10 to 15% actually are self-aware. If you are leading 1,500 people in your business, then you bloody well have to pay attention to yourself. And the best leaders that I meet, no doubt they have a high level of self-awareness. Sometimes self-awareness teaches you find yourself in the wrong place in life. It's not an aha moment, it's more like an oh no moment.
What is the cost if you pretend for too long to be something that you're not?
The more you have to pretend, the worse the result. You're going to live a lie. You're going to find yourself living a lie. I don't think that's a good idea.
Before we get started with the episode, our books are now open.
If you need help getting in front of the right people, finding your dream customers, or winning new business, we might be able to help.
Why not outsource your sales to We Have a Meeting? Just go to wehaveameeting.com.
Thomas, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, thank you. Thank you. I've got your book behind you. It was a gift from my mother for my 31st birthday. And I've been very interested in your work ever since. So I'm going to dive straight in, Thomas. I guess hit you with a big open question like we always do. Who are you and what problem do you solve?
Oh, who am I? Well, I am Thomas. I am from Sweden. I am an author, a behaviorist, not a psychologist. Big difference there. I'm an ex-banker. I've been working with sales since I was, 19. Sales is my way into the business, so to speak. And then I've become a leadership coach and a mentor. These days I travel the world. I give mainly keynotes. I mentor CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs who have no one to turn to, those kind of things. And I am actually, I'm going to say something quite no, the word is, I think it's non-Swedish, un-Swedish perhaps, un-Swedish, non-Swedish. I am, which is a bit of bragging. We don't usually do that. Unless our name is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, then it's fine to brag, but the rest of us don't. But I can say that I am actually Sweden's most translated author, still alive. So that's fun.
It's impressive. So if I'm a CEO or a founder or an entrepreneur and I'm sat in one of your keynote talks, what are some of the symptoms that I might be facing in my day-to-day life that you can fix for me?
Well, connected to what the second part of the question, what value do I bring to the table? Really, what do I do for people? Well, I have this way of looking at things. I'm not inside any organization except for my own. I see things a little bit from the side. I am an expert in observing behaviors, and I have a specific way to reach people, to touch people. And when it comes to CEOs and founders and chairmen of the board and so on, they have usually no one to turn to, and people are usually a little bit too polite to them. So they never get the real truth about themselves, about their management style, about their leadership, about if they are good mentors and so on and so forth. So what I can bring to the table is sort of a clarity. This is where you are, this is who you are, and this is what you actually need to do and pay attention to in order to be even better at what you do. If you wanting to grow your business, there are a couple of things you need to pay attention to, and I can give them those. Actually, that's what I usually do. There is no crystal clear roadmap, A, B, C, D. That's not how it works. But I am a good listener, and I usually I don't hold back when I see something I need to address, actually.
Nice. So I've heard this thing about like business and leadership, and a lot of the time it's all problems taste like chicken. So no matter where you approach them, they're all very, very similar. So I imagine that there must be so much different context. But when people bring their problems to you and their mistakes, typically what are the key mistakes they might be making where it's a case of this is the same as most leaders?
Leaders, or let's say managers, because I of course make the distinction: leaders slash manager, it's not the same thing. Leader is someone you want to follow, a manager or a boss is someone you have to follow. Sounds like a cliche, I understand that, but it is actually true. A leader, usually a person who is, let's say, considered as a leader, being a leader, those people have figured it out. But most people in leading position, in managing positions, they do the same mistake as everybody else. They use themselves as some sort of starting point for any discussion. My way is, of course, the best way. And, a CEO is usually like that, just like you and I. We think so too. I mean, I do what I do because I think it's the right way to do it. Otherwise, I would have been doing something else, right? And they do the same thing. They see themselves as sort of a role model for how things are supposed to be taken care of. When it comes to communication, when it comes to this is how I would look at it, they say. So they instruct people to do it that way. Sometimes they're right, but terribly often they're wrong, actually. But most people are like that. CEOs are not maybe just like anybody else, but mostly they are like, you and I. They get paid better, but they still they're still human beings, and they have their own flaws and weaknesses, and that's just the way it is.
Okay, so it sounds like obviously if you're sitting down with these people, you're a straight talker. You can tell them straight, and you could probably spot them in a lineup of you're a manager, you're a leader. I can tell by your attributes and your traits and the way that you handle conversations. For people that you're probably not sitting down with, how do they? For people that are listening, I think one of the things to be thinking of, well, I'm not sure which one I am, but then, yeah, my way is the best. So how do they get out of the way of their own ego?
And my first book that I published was called Surrounded by Idiots. And some people say, that's a stupid way to look at it. Should we still continue to call each other idiots? 2025, haven't we reached further? And I say, well, okay, it's irony. But the title is directed to all of the people who thinks they have the best solution all the time, every time. And the thing is, if you think that you are surrounded by idiots, if you think that your way is the only way and everybody else is wrong constantly, then you are the problem. You are the problem. And it's like the friend we had in high school who couldn't hook up with a girl because she's strange and she's weird and she's a lunatic, and this one is just, I don't know. And the lowest common denominator in all these stories is the guy, and we have to address it and say, hey, maybe you should take care of this. I met actually a founder of a rather big firm last week, in a live conversation. I met him, and that doesn't matter. And he had this strange notion. He said, I find myself in conflict all the time. It's not my fault. And I don't like it, but I find myself in conflict constantly. Some people are just so weird. And I said, tell me about it. And then this is sort of a cue to start an interesting conversation. But most people are lacking self-awareness. That is actually quite common. There has been plenty of studies on self-awareness as a topic in itself. And there was an interesting study by an American psychiatrist, I think. Don't. You might want to correct me on that one. Tasha Urish, and she asked 3,000 people, how self-aware are you on a scale? Could you rate yourself? Turns out 95% are above average. That's interesting. Should I say that again? It's like asking men, are you a good driver? We are all above average, aren't we? So, there's a huge, let's say, potential to find here, because when I do a 360 analysis, turns out maybe 10 to 15% actually are self-aware. Maybe it doesn't matter if you are mowing the lawn, on a Friday, but maybe it matters a little bit more if you are leading 1,500 people in your business. Then you bloody well have to pay attention to yourself. And the best leaders that I meet, no doubt they have a high level of self-awareness. They have a high level of social competence, and they are excellent communicators, because all these things are connected. The best leaders have a great communication skills, and they have that because they have social competence, which is to understand how their actions affects everybody else's actions. And in order to understand that, you need self-awareness. So self-awareness is where it starts, gives you social competence, turns you into a great communicator, which makes you an invested leader. But if you don't pay attention to these things, you're going to mess it up. It's just the way it is. And leaders, managers, they do it just as often as anybody else, according to my experience. That's what I learned.
I always think of that phrase like non-playable characters when you think about awareness, and people are just like going through life as if they're in a video game and they're not kind of there. Let's double down on self-awareness then, Thomas. What in a real nutshell, if somebody is self-aware, what would that look like? And maybe on the flip as well, if they're not self-aware.
Well, self-awareness means to understand who you really are, to understand your actions, your reactions, emotional ones, how you are sort of handling yourself in specific situations, to be able to observe yourself. But it's also, and I think that's what most people are missing, they miss this, it's also to understand what everybody else see when you introduce yourself to the room. When you present yourself to your organization, you understand who you are, but do you understand what everybody else sees when you enter the floor? That's also part of self-awareness. Some CEOs that I meet, they say, well, I know I'm a bit dominant, I'm a bit, blunt, a bit straightforward, but I think that's a good trait. And I say that's a great trait. However, not everybody loves that trait when you are sort of blunt and in people's face all the time. And there's slight aggressiveness. Maybe it's not the best way. Well, they should, it's grown-ups. They have to deal with it. Can we talk about it? That's where it usually starts. And I mean, a lot of people are playing roles, right? When you enter the office, or when you entered the office of your client, perhaps you're going to make a great deal, and you try to play a role. You can do that for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but could you do it for like 9 hours in a row? That's hard. That's actually really, really tricky to play a role that isn't really you, which also gives you the notion that you shouldn't try to be someone that you're not, sort of on the bigger scale, which gives you a problem, because maybe you're not fit for this specific position, or maybe even this occupation, in a broader perspective. Maybe you don't have what it takes to be a great sales guy. Well, maybe not. Not everybody can succeed in any occupation. That's just the way it is. So sometimes self-awareness, going back to your question there, Jack, sometimes self-awareness teaches you maybe you are, let's say, you find yourself in the wrong place in life. It's a very, what would you say? It's a very tough insight. It's not an aha moment. It's more like an oh no moment. I shouldn't be doing this because I have to play a role constantly. I don't like people. Why should I be the leader? If you don't enjoy leading people, if you don't enjoy human beings, then you shouldn't be, in the corner office. You should actually do something else, right? But most leaders end up in the corner office because they are excellent experts in something. It could be sales, it could be, finance, it could be economy, law, whatever. Doesn't really matter. If you have expert skills in something, you end up as leading this department, right? But that's not the same thing. It's a completely different job. And most people don't understand that. So they continue what they did as a sales guy, as a sales team leader, as a sales director, and now you're the CEO of the company. That's actually quite a common path in order to reach the top, so to speak. But that's a different job. It's a complete different position. And if you don't pay attention to how much you have to sort of tweak your own behavior, like 8 or 9 hours per day, then you're going to mess it up.
We are entering a new era of outbound.
4 years in, We Have a Meeting has leveled up our entire offer. That's why multi-billion-pound brands trust us.
And we book meetings with Netflix, Spotify, Facebook, even Barcelona Football Club.
We've helped close deals up to 950,000.
We're doing it all. Phone, LinkedIn, email, direct mail, and there's a few weird and wonderful possibilities that we're keeping in our back pocket. So if you're struggling to get in front of the right people at the right time, inquire today. I love that. Yeah. I love that invert from the aha moment to the oh no moment. I think that's like that's beautiful. So then, and this might get deep really quickly, Thomas, but obviously you talk about like who we are, but then I also think surely if you're self-aware, we know that we're not the same person. So there's a version of Jack that sits down with my mum and has afternoon tea. There's a version of me when I'm being a dad, when I'm being a partner, when I'm being a leader, but that is still me. So then that might give like a bit of a, not even necessarily a contradiction, but for people that are listening, they're going, well, who am I really then?
Who am I really? That's an excellent question. It's exactly the right question, because you have a natural, let's say, I write about the disc profile, the 4 colors, red, yellow, green, blue, and so on. It's not a personality test. Sometimes people confuse themselves a little bit, but thinking this measures the personality style, but it doesn't. It measures your communication style and your behavior style. And what's the difference? Well, the difference is behaviors is what you can see and observe with your eyes, with your ears. Personality is beneath the surface. You can't see the personality. You try to figure it out based on people's behaviors, but it's actually not the same thing. Let's not get too technical, but the thing is this: you have a sort of a natural behavioral style. The person that Jack really is when he doesn't have to try to pretend anything. You can be just you. Together with your wife, let's say, I don't know if you have one, but let's assume you have one. Together with her, you can sit down around a coffee table. You can be just you, and it's fantastic with your siblings, with your relatives, and you don't have to pretend anything. You can be Jack. That's the natural you. Then you enter your office. Then you have to sort of tweak yourself a little bit. We all tweak ourselves slightly. Usually, we sort of push one of the regulators a little bit up, and another one goes down, and so on. That's just we do it. Some people, it's about how we interpret this specific situation. Let's say I am having a really important meeting with a huge possible future client, let's say, and I want to convince them, and I want to land this deal. I want to take home this super good business. I want to sort of conquer this, and I want to go to my sales director and say, I did it, So you sort of you tweak yourself, you slightly turn into something a bit, I don't know, depends. Different people interpret the same situation in different ways, which makes different people act in different ways, but in the same situation, because we read the room differently. It's hard to say what's right and what's wrong, but that's one role. Let's call it the mask that you put on your face, on your actions, in order to fit into this specific situation. That's your working style, your adapted style, let's say. But then you meet your mother-in-law. Now you have to tweak yourself in sort of another way, in a smarter way. Maybe you have to sort of tone down a little bit. I don't know. So we have different masks in different situations, and that's just the way it is. The best way to do the best job, and this is something that a lot of people don't like to hear, the best way to do an excellent job in any position, regardless of occupation, regardless what kind of business you're in, that is, if there's as little difference between your natural style and your adapted style. If you can be mostly you, but still fit into this situation, that is absolutely the best way. Right? Because the more you have to pretend, the worse the result. Because if you tweak yourself too much, if you bend over backwards constantly, you're going to end up with stress-related diseases, physical ones, because you are playing a role for too long. I've been there myself. I'm an ex-banker, 14 years. I don't know what I was doing there, really. At least 4 years too long. Shouldn't have stayed so long. I learned a lot. That's great. I got to know brilliant people and so on, and they taught me a lot. But the last 4 years, trying to play a role, I wasn't suited for, really. So I left. And that's just the way it is. Not everybody can be excellent in any position. It's like like modern parents. As you see from my face, my kids, they're grown ups, they're adults, all of them. The oldest one is turning 34 and the youngest is 21. So, but today's parents, they tell their kids, and I think it's a beautiful thing, you can be anything. Anything. You can be absolutely whatever you want to be. You're brilliant. I love you. You're magical. Okay, fantastic. However, that's not true. It's a lie. It's a filthy lie, because nobody can be anything. You can, of course, be much, much more than you might imagine if you work hard and you develop some certain skills and you learn self-awareness, for that matter. But you can't be anything. When I was young, I wanted to be a basketball player, professional one. Too short. I am 183 centimeters tall. I'm not short, but the other guys were sort of, 205. What's that? I don't know what it is in inches and stuff. You do the math.
It's a lot taller than me, Thomas, I'll tell you that.
It's a lot taller than me, 2 decimeters. The difference was, so, I couldn't cope, obviously. Very unfair. So then I wanted to drive Formula One cars. Too tall. I didn't fit into the cabin. Life has treated me very unfairly, and I'm very disappointed. But the thing is, I had to find myself a job where my height didn't matter. So I started writing books. No one cares how tall I am. That's just the way it is. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm. It's so fascinating, and I think like we're living in I've got a young boy, I've got an 18-month-old, and I've got another baby on the way. So I've not faced these dilemmas yet. At the moment, they want to be Peppa Pig, and you know what? They can be Peppa Pig. That's fine by me.
They can be there until the age of, I don't know, 7. Then you have to sort of bring in reality.
That is a bit weird. I just wanted to ask a little bit deeper. Obviously, you spoke about the cost and about like how that can have a knock-on effect. So I guess I don't know how comfortable you'd feel about talking about your own personal experience, but what is the cost if you pretend for too long to be something that you're not?
Well, we can get philosophical here. You're going to live a lie. You're going to find yourself living a lie. I don't think that's a good idea. If you pretend to be something that you're not, it's just an illusion. It's not true. It's not real. And at the end of the day, you're going to find yourself in a very uncomfortable situation. I mean, who would like to be my age? And realizing I've lived a lie. This is not true. I pretended to be something that I'm not. It's not that's not good. It's not good. I don't recommend it. I think it was Jordan Peterson. You know who that is, I assume. I think it was him who said when he was quite young, like 19, 20 or similar, he said he tried to get rid of everything he was speaking about that wasn't his own original thoughts, right? Instead of repeating what other people are saying or sort of, trying to build on everybody else's thinking. And he got a question in some podcast somewhere. He said, so what was left? He said, almost nothing. Almost nothing. I had nothing to say anymore because I didn't have any original thoughts. And if you are copying people, of course, we are using other people's insights and experiences and knowledge. Of course, we do that. But if you're trying to live I guess in a way, what would you say? If you're trying to live somebody else's life, I mean, how many people haven't had parents who said, you should be a lawyer? No, you should be you're an accountant because grandfather was an accountant and I'm an accountant. You should be an accountant too, or you should take over the family business or whatever. How many people haven't heard that in their life? A lot of people. Sometimes it's the perfect position. Sometimes it's just a disaster because that's not who you are. And I guess you have to fit in a way, but at the same time, you have to be a little bit true to yourself, right? A lot of people love working with sales. I've trained, I would say, 10,000 sales reps since mid 90s, I would say. And I met a lot of brilliant salespeople. The best ones are the ones who have a natural talent. They ask for the deal, just like this. They don't hesitate. They have it natural in them. We can teach them certain skills and how to negotiate and, X, Y, Z, whatever it is. But if you don't have it naturally, you're not going to make it easily, let's say. And some people are struggling. They want to make big bucks. They want to earn a lot of money, but they really don't like selling. That's an example. If you don't like to do business, then why are you in business, if you know what I mean?
Mm.
You have to agree with me on that.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. So thinking about the communication styles, it sounded like earlier you were saying, and I might be wrong in this, so feel free to berate me on national TV, Thomas, it's fine. It feels like whoever I am, I've got a mask, but the way that you were describing it felt like I'd wear very many different masks as I go through life. So one might be this cheeky devil and one might be a smiley, happy face. But actually, based on my communication style, the color would be the same. So I might be red and yellow, or I might just be purely red. Or do you find that as you move through life in different situations, your communication style can change as well?
Well, a red person can pretend to be yellow for a bit, for a
Mm.
while. A blue person can try to be a little bit greenish if they want to. It's hard to go from extroversion to introversion and vice versa. That's really, really hard. Totally different energies. A yellow person could try to play blue. Let's say a yellow person, which would be for our listeners here, it could be that's an extroverted, people-oriented person, and a blue person is an introverted, task-oriented person. The blue people will not be fooled by this for 10 seconds even. But the yellow will still say, oh, I can do this. I'm a great Excel master, and I have full control of the details. But where's my papers? They just can't make it. So they will be themselves all the time, constantly. But again, it's a sort of an adaptation to a certain situation. That's what I told you before. If you are in a meeting for 60 minutes, you can act in a certain way, act as if, whatever, but you can't do it all along. That's just the way it is. The
Mm.
colors are you. But it's actually a matter of, maybe you heard this, when the frontal lobe closes in your head. Now you have a fixed personality. Now your brain is set up for full action, which happens for young women aged 19, 18, 19, for young men 23, 24. Why is that? Well, ask Mother Nature or your father creator, creator, or whatever belief you have. That's not the point. I don't know what it is. Don't kill the messenger here, but that's just the way it is. When the frontal lobe closes, you now understand the consequences of your own decisions. Now you're functioning full capacity. Uh, and now your personality gets a bit more fixed. Now your colors and which is how your personality comes through in your behavioral style and so on. Let's say that you're an introvert and you're into people. That would make you green. Just an example, which means that you are friendly, you are open-minded to friends' ideas. You don't like conflicts, changes. Maybe not your cup of tea, but you're nice and you're helpful and you're very polite and all of these things. Excellent listeners are usually green, as an example. You're going to be like this for the rest of your life unless you suffer some specific trauma of some kind. Trauma could be near-death experiences, to, let's say, to lose a child, for instance, which is a horrible, horrible event in anyone's life. I cannot imagine how that will be. It changes people. It tears them apart. Now your personality gets sort of ripped into pieces, bits and pieces sometimes. And I've seen super red people, high level energy entrepreneurs burn themselves to the ground, waking up blind. I had a client like that 10 years ago, and he came out 18 months later totally green. The exact opposite. Now it's just family. All the systems closed down. Couldn't breathe. They put him in some respiratory care. I don't know the English word for it, but he couldn't breathe. Everything was left. Pumping was the heart at the end, and they fixed him. They repaired him, and then he came out. 18 months later. Now I'm okay. Three toddlers at home and building a house and building businesses. He said, I can't live like this. But that's extreme. Usually people are kind of the same all through life, even though they learn new skills, they learn how to adapt in a certain situation, all of these things, sure. But in full freedom, they will be who they come out as, based on 50% DNA and 50%, nature versus nurture, who you come out when your frontal lobe closes, regardless of what age you're in. That's who you're going to be, basically. And I guess that's fine if you are in the right place in life. You're dealing with the right people. You have a partner that sort of supports you. You have a partner who understands you, and you understand him or her. You have a boss who tolerates you, and you tolerate her or him or whatever. You have sort of workmates that are okay to be with. You're in a great position. Then you can be you, which is the best. Yeah. I can continue on this path for like forever, but
No, it's beautiful. Well, I know that some people will be in the comments and will love this because they're salespeople. So let's really give the salespeople something to kind of sing home about. So you've taught thousands of salespeople. From your experience, who are typically better at selling, extroverts or introverts?
Tricky question. Yes and no. Extroverts, as reds and yellows, red people, which are extroverts and task oriented, they are good sales reps because they have this inner drive. They like to conquer the business. They want to win. If they can bring home the deal, they feel like winners and they're going to celebrate and yay, whoa. Yellow people are also extroverts, but they are people oriented. They have a really smooth talking. They have excellent language. They are very, very. They are not as competitive as the red ones, but they have a really exceptional way with convincing people and making people feel good, and sort of boost people's egos and so on, which is also good. They have the way with words. They can make anything sound like just an amazing experience. They can sell ice to penguins and sand to Bedouins, if you like. Blue people can be good sales reps if they deal with other blue people, because that's people who are exceptionally, let's say, patient. When you have to make like 25 meetings in order to close the deal, then you need the blue guy, really. And they will give you the data, they will give you the evidence, they will bring in the Excel sheets. They will say, you have to buy our system. Yes, it's expensive, but because of this and that, and they will give you all their expertise. They have read up on everything. They are exceptionally well prepared. If they have a drive for making money or for making business, they can also be excellent sales reps, absolutely. But they don't have the same natural drive as an extrovert. But they do it, like sort of, they eat themselves into an organization. They are following the grand scheme here. They are plotting out every decision maker, everyone who is interfering or have some sort of influence of any decision. They plot the whole organization. They have 25 meetings instead of 2 meetings. So therefore, I have met a lot of great blue people who have made great sales. If they are blue in a combination with yellow, it's usually very good, because then they can smile from time to time. They could be a bit robot-like. The ones who are struggling, and anyone who's listening, I am not now, the following is not to say green people cannot sell. I'm not saying that. I am, though, saying green people have to work harder than the other ones because they are conflict avert. If the client says, the customer says, no, okay, sorry for interrupting, sorry for disturbing you. My fault. I'm so stupid. No. Green people don't like changes, especially don't quick changes. They are very pleasant to be around. They're very friendly. They're very kind, very helpful, but they don't usually push the client into the corner. In a negotiation situation, if the client says, "Well, it's not in the budget," oh, I get it. Okay, I'm so sorry. That's just a negotiation gambit. I don't listen to those things. It's not in your budget. Well, put it in your budget then. You have to put it in there, let me talk to your supervisor and we get it into the budget so you get what you need, buy these things, So green people are struggling. I have met good green sales reps. I have met those, but it's more rare than reds and yellows. And I think there's a reason for it. They are a little bit too helpful, a little bit too kind, a little bit too friendly. They sort of get in touch with people and they have lunches and a pleasant evening, and everything is just fine. And it's hard to sort of squeeze it out or your new buddy here, that's not good. A red person can have a business lunch and still, raise the bar extremely high just because, well, it's business, you see. Sometimes business is tough. I don't have to tell you that. Business can be really, really tough, right? And if you are afraid of speaking up, if you're afraid of a bit of, let's say, unpleasant conversations where you have to sort of push the customer a little bit, maybe that's not helpful. But there are exceptions. Again, self-awareness. That's the key. In leadership, in sales, in anything. Self-awareness.
Where do you see people making mistakes when it comes to selling to these different colors then?
Oh, that's easy. That's because they give the prospect what they think they want to hear, which is usually based on what they want to hear themselves, instead of listening. It's the same thing. If you don't find out their real needs, if you don't go through the sales funnel, the correct way, if you start presenting your offer immediately instead of asking all these, whatever, how many questions there are, supposed to be 7 questions or 19 questions or whatever, open-ended questions, all of these things. If you don't gather information and just start to push, that's not going to do you any good. And that could happen to any color. It could happen to anyone. You have to sort of, even though you know why you are there, even though you know what you can see, maybe you did some sort of analysis beforehand or that, you can say, well, this is what they need, I'm going to give it to them. Well, if the prospect don't see what you see, then you're going to mess it up again. And most people know this by now. Most people understand it, but we get a little bit eager, a bit impatient. Then we sort of start to push for the deal instead of asking questions and saying, let me go back to my desk and make some calculations. Let's see if I can give you what you ask for here. Then you come back 2 weeks later and say, okay, I have done a really thorough analysis of your answers beforehand here a fortnight ago. And I want to really, I'm not sure I can solve it, but here's my proposal at least. Let's have a conversation. You take it easy. You don't assume you're going to close the deal. You play the unwilling salesman sometimes. That's one of my favorites. I don't know if I can deliver this to you, I don't know if we have it on our shelves. Oh, you want this, you want that? I'm not sure. We'll see. Let me get back to you. Oh, we need you to come to talk to our convention here. We have to have you in our sort of huge, in my case, it could be, I don't do these deals myself, but my team does it for me. But sometimes they say, I don't know if Thomas is available, So, oh, but it's 19th of September. Yeah, it's his birthday. Not sure if he can come, Okay, how much is it? Playing the unwilling. Okay, that's a dirty trick. I understand that, but still, sometimes don't be too eager. If the client, if the prospect can see that you are super eager, you really need this deal, then you are the weaker in a weaker position. Everybody understands this on an intellectual level, but when you're in the meeting, If you have a red person in front of you, they don't want to hear all this and that. They want to know how much is it and when can you begin, Bam. Don't be too smart with those people. They are super impatient. If you talk to yellow people, you have to boost their egos. You have to tell them, oh, lovely office. Wow, so big, and you have really succeeded. Wow, how did you build this organization? I am really, really impressed. Tell me your story. How did you enter this business, If you're dealing with green people, you always say yes to coffee, tea, mineral water, whatever. Say yes to everything the first 45 minutes. Be friendly, smile a lot, control your body language. If you talk to blue people, expect nothing but robot-like behaviors. Don't flatter them. Don't say, wow, this is sexy. Well, that's such a lovely wallpaper. They couldn't care less, You sit down, you open your laptop, you only use words you can put your name on, Well prepared, you have a thick pile of you have a manual if they ask questions. And you are okay by saying, I don't know. Can I get back to you on that one? You never say to a blue person, you don't make up an answer just to get out of the situation. They will check it up. And if they can confront you with an untruth, let's say, I'm not saying it's a lie, but let's say that's not correct, they're not going to invite you back. Reds don't care. They don't know the truth either. And yellows they don't remember it. But yeah.
Our book is out now. Sales is Therapy is available everywhere for people who are looking to get better at communicating,
asking better questions, closing more deals, and bringing in more clients.
Beware, it is not for the faint of heart or for closed-minded people.
You can buy it in all good shops, links below. Probably removing body language, because we spend a lot of our time speaking to people on the phones in like first instances. And there's a phrase in sales, you might have heard it, people buy from people. Actually, I don't think that's very true. It's people buy from people like them. So one of the sales things is, well, you want to sound like the person on the phone, whether they're maybe a red or a blue or whatever. So how would you think about those early indicators of, if I'm trying to think of what kind of communicator I'm speaking with, how would you source that? Would it be research in terms of job roles? Would it be looking at their profile picture on LinkedIn and saying, oh, they look like a yellow? How would you think about that, Thomas?
Well, sort to say, there are no bulletproof systems here. If you can't see the person, it's going to be a little bit you're going to be in the dark here. There's no way around that, actually. What I usually do when I don't know, that could be a live meeting, it could be a Zoom meeting, it could be something like this, it could be a phone call, it could be an email conversation, or some people text me these days and come up with, well, this and that. What I do is I go green. Meaning I talk less, I ask open-ended questions that cannot be answered by yes and no, and then I just open up my ears, because greens are excellent listeners. So go green, and the more you listen to the other person, the more information you can gather, so to speak, which gives you more fuel to your analysis. If it is a red person, they will get straight to the point, just bam, like this. Okay, what do you have for me? What is this? How do we make this phone call effective? Shoot. What are you selling? How much is it? What is it? Is it any good? Okay, that gives you information, but you have to shut up. If it's a yellow person, they're going to be hard to stop, because they're going to talk. Oh, are you calling me again? Well, funny story. I think I know a buddy of yours, because I met this guy at the pub, blah, 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 blah. And then you have to sort of, with big Mickey Mouse gloves, have to sort of push them in the right direction. But you listen a lot. If you have a green person, they will have a softer voice, and they will be kind and friendly. Oh, who are you, and what can I do for you? How may I help you? They have a sort of a more kind approach. You can hear that on the phone as well. They don't yell and say, hey, what is it? I'm sort of in a hurry here, No, they would say, oh, this is my lunch hour, but that's okay. What was it about? Oh, yeah, I can't remember your name. Oh, I'm so sorry. Did you call me last week? Oh, terribly sorry. If it's a blue person, there's a problem. They won't say anything. But that's a clue in itself. Funny. I have to tell you a story. Do we have the time? I think we do.
Yeah.
This sort of a division management kind of guy, one big division within a big corporation, a couple of years ago. He called me up and he said, I think we made a bad recruitment here. I think we got the wrong guy for this position. I said, so what's wrong with him? Well, he just sits there. And I said, what do you mean? Yeah, he just sits there. But what do you mean just sits there? Did you give him a desk? Yeah, he took the desk, he turned it around, facing the wall, his back to everybody else, 49 other people. Didn't want to see them. He just sits there. He's got to be doing something. I said, what is he doing? Yeah, just sits there. It's nothing moving at all. Yeah, well, his eyes are moving up and down quite quickly, really. But why is that? Well, it's the things on the screen are moving a lot. Well, how come the things on the screen are moving a lot? Well, he's typing the keyboard constantly like this. I think I have the solution. I think it's working. I said, I think it's working without distracting anybody else. He's blue, but he doesn't say anything. There's nothing to analyze. That's a lot to analyze, actually, because blue people speak when they have something to say, right? And by the way, for everybody who is struggling with introverts, not saying anything at all, which would be blue and greens, actually, most introverts speak a lot around the right people. If they don't speak to you, maybe connecting this back to where we began this discussion, maybe you're the problem. Maybe you haven't managed to invite them into the conversation, really. That could actually be the case. Maybe you should do that. Work harder on that. But you can do that.
I like that. I heard a quote once that was like, there are no introverted people. They've just got shit friends, which I think is quite beautiful.
Well, that's not true, but it's a funny saying, I guess.
I want to... This might be like a bit of business advice, but I think it'd be really interesting to get your opinion on it. So we do a lot of interviews for salespeople, and during the interviews and the hiring stage, we'll always ask the question, how do you like to be managed? How do you like to be communicated? Some people like it softly. They like to be buttered up first. They like to have their ego stroken, and some people like it direct. I would say 99% of salespeople that we speak to say, I like it direct. 2 months into the role, there might be a piece of feedback that is direct and it goes down like a lead balloon. Why? What questions are we asking wrong? How can we ask them better? And why are salespeople lying to me?
Well, I'm sorry for laughing. That's such a beautiful example. You could ask any kind of occupation the same question. They will also say, how would you like to be addressed? Well, straightforward. Tell me, say it as it is. No one would say, oh, you have to sugarcoat it. You have to sort of pat me a little bit on my you have to find the best way. You have to bribe me with some fancy lunch. Of course they won't say that. Would you like us to tell you the truth? Who would say, no, I hate the truth. Instead, tell me I'm fantastic and brilliant and raise my salary. No one's going to say that. Everybody, 100% will say, tell it as it is. Straight to my face, just hand it over and I'll do the best of it. But in reality, 90.5% of the people can't take it. And how do I know it's 90.5%? Because 9.5% of the population are red. They can take it, but everybody else, no, sir. No. For a yellow person, if you criticize them, if you give them negative feedback, you don't like me. Oh, this is horrible. My boss, he hates me. He's such a bad person. A green person, they would just fall into bits and pieces. They would go home and have a glass of wine and say to their wife or their husband, I think I'm in the right place. 19 years more of this, I can't take, People are so unfriendly and so unkind. I don't know what's wrong. I did my absolute best. And the blue person, they would take out the Excel sheet and say, well, you're actually wrong because blah, 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 blah. And here's the evidence for that. So you're the problem. But red people, they can just say, shut up. Working harder, I can work harder, you idiot. Let me prove it to you. But they are the only ones who can give you the straightforward feedback and actually take the straightforward feedback. They might get mad when you tell them, well, you're a lazy son of a, you know what, you didn't pay attention to this, you didn't listen in the last meeting, you messed it up, buddy. What are you going to do about it? Because we're going to be an argument. And they say, so are you going to sort of repair this mess? Yeah, sure. But they have to be a little bit, aggressive around it. But they will fix the problem. They are task-oriented and dominant, and competitive. If you say, I don't think you can fix it, ooh, that's a challenge. I'm going to fix it. God damn it, I'm going to fix it. Sorry, technical term. But 90.5% are struggling with reality, are struggling with the truth. It's a human thing. It's not a sales reps thing. It's a human thing. Really.
Now you say that, I'm thinking about my office and I'm going, oh, I've only got one red person in my office. They've all told me they're red, but actually I've only got one red person who can take it. So
everybody wants to be red because it sounds kind of cool, but most people are not. So that's another insight for you.
So this might be a big question, but it's probably like a nice place to dig into just before we wrap up. So for leadership and managers, when people listen to this, they can put themselves in their own bracket if they're self-aware enough. How do you get the most out of your team? Like what is some of like the top 3 advice bits that you'd say, do this, think about this, say this? What would you say?
One thing is, don't fall for cool statements on LinkedIn. Like, we can have people working from home because our staff are grown-ups. That's a stupid thing. Don't trust that silly. That's just some idiotic saying. It's a cool phrase and people say, yay, whoa, we can trust people. Well, maybe. But a lot of people need follow-ups, they need feedback. And you can never give them feedback, negative or positive for that matter, because we need positive feedback more than we need negative feedback. I'm not saying criticism or, smack on the head. I'm saying feedback, which is how to sort of flip it back to you. Okay, when you did this in the meeting, this was good, this could have been better. Here you messed it up. Can we have a conversation? We could have done this better. I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't instruct you well enough, but can we talk about what happened over there? In this part of the process and so on. If you don't follow them closely enough, how could you ever lead them or guide them or feedback to them if you don't see them? Once in a fortnight. How would you do it? What you have to do is you have to meet your people. You have to sit down with them individually. Group meetings are good, team meetings are useful, absolutely, but an individual conversation now and then, not every day, maybe not even every week, but that you sort of, let's say, just what do the Americans say? I'm getting back to you. They have a certain phrase for this. They say something. Coming back to them, there's something that they used. I heard someone, now it's gone. But you have to talk to people. You have to talk to them because they are all individuals. That's cliche, but everyone is different. No one is exactly like the other one. If you treat, that's one thing. You have to sit next to them. Yeah, but my guy is working like 200 kilometers away. Yeah, tough luck. Then you have to have a Zoom meeting with your suit on, and your tie, or maybe have to put on a shirt at least, look like a professional. Don't sit there in a filthy T-shirt with ketchup stains on. No. You have to be a professional. You have to sort of make them respect you in a positive way. I mean, in a positive way. But also, you cannot treat everybody the same way. It sounds super simple, but most managers that I meet, they treat all the sales reps the same way. They have every 10 days some sort of conversation, and they follow the checklist. Bam, 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 bam. What did you do good? What could you have done differently? Where are you disappointed? What help do you need? What are your successes? What are your biggest losses? And you have this, blah, 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 blah. And you file it and you put it in a binder somewhere. And you never look at it again. But you can't do that. You have to. Some people need 90 minutes feedback sessions every week. Some people need 5 minutes every month. And it's your job as the leader to understand who needs what. That would be my second idea. And the third one is going back to where we began. I think some managers find themselves surrounded by idiots. It's only idiots working here. Well, I hear this a lot from entrepreneurs. You can't trust people here. These people, Department A, just idiots. No, Department B, lunatics, weirdos. Department C, don't even get me started. Crazy people, can't trust anyone. Well, the only natural follow-up question is, who brought in all the idiots? If you can't answer that question with a straight face, then you're the problem again. Right, Jack? Then you're the problem. If you hire this guy, and you probably did, then you are responsible for him or her. Now it's your job to make the best out of it. Yes, there are bad recruitments. There are sometimes we misrecruited. They lied to us. The resume was corrupted in some way. What do I know? That happens. Could happen. Could happen to you as well. So that's too bad. It could happen. But usually you recruited them, you followed the process, and you brought them on, and now they are messing it up. It's your job to fix it. It's your job. Don't blame the person at hand. Don't blame him or her. Don't say that's an idiot. He just can't cope. I have to get rid of him. The probation period is coming to an end. We're going to actually replace this guy. Well, maybe you should sit down with him or her and talk to them a little bit. What is happening? What is going on? Because there are a certain frustration phase that usually comes within 4 to 8 months when people sort of dip in motivation and engagement, commitment. It goes down because they get confused. Now the only thing they have learned in the new corporation is what doesn't work. They haven't seen themselves succeed in any bigger scale. So, but it's your job to fix it. No, it's not fair. No, it's not easy. Yes, it's going to take some time. No, you cannot pay attention more to the specialist stuff than you do to the people. If you imagine 11 guys, then your main function is to deal with those 11 guys. Your main function is not to support the financial office with data. It's not to support the CEO with whatever he or she is asking for. It's focus on these 11 people. That's your job. That's number one. If you don't do that as number one, then you're a bad boss. Well, there's a book for you called Surrounded by Bad Bosses and Lazy Employees, by the way. It's 2 books in one. Buy it. It's a great book. No, you can buy it. You can borrow it on the library, probably, I would say. But the thing is this, it's your job. That's your... A lot of people, again, as I mentioned before, if you're an expert in field X, then you're going to get a managing position. But that's another job. Within sales, it's typical. The best sales guy gets to be the team leader. But in order to make him really a good role model, we're going to double his budget at the same time. So now we really have no time for leadership, right? I almost said it's stupid, but that's a bit too harsh, but it's not good. It's not good. If the top management team thinks that's a smart idea, I would advise them to rethink this. If you hire the best sales guy to be the team leader, let's say that you actually do that, be aware it's a new job. Maybe you should cut the budget in half or take it away completely. Make this person be the mentor for the other 11 persons, the other 11 sales reps. Make this person the best role model to instruct them, to teach them, to co-visit the clients and so on, to be with them and to give them feedback, to really to raise their sales awareness, the nerve, the instincts that you need to be the best of the best when it comes to sales, because it's a hard job, especially these days. It's a really, really tough job to sell because everyone is so critical and no one has time to listen to anything. Yeah. Long answer.
Beautiful answer.
This is
Thomas.
things that I truly believe in this.
Yeah. I think there was so much actionable takeaway, and it's funny that you brushed on the working from home piece. I spoke on a panel yesterday about working from home, and somebody on the front row, they put their hand up, a leader, and said, I've got one person that works 3 days a week and the other person wants to do that, but I want them in the office full time. What should I do? I was like, you need to learn how to have a tough conversation. That's what you need to go away and do. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. I've really, really enjoyed this, and I've got so many ideas buzzing around my brain already when it comes to my team and leadership. Obviously, you've got many incredible books. If people want to find you or they want to buy your books, what's the best thing for them to do?
The books you can find everywhere where books are sold, so that's the smallest problem. If you want to see what I'm up to, what I'm doing, and so on, you can go to surroundedbyidiots.com and you will find everything there. Online courses and my schedule for the upcoming autumn and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's where you find me on social media, but I'm not big on social media. I really don't understand that. I like people. I don't like algorithms. I like people. So
real people.
That's where I mess it up. Sorry to say.
Well, thank
Surrounded
you
by
so much.
That's where I start. Thank you for having me.
Incredible.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Thomas.